This lesson is how to factor the difference and sum of two perfect cubes. Not squares, but cubes. So we're looking for an exponent of 3. So you are given formulas to do that. And the first formula for the, let's say the sum of two things being cubed, factored out, would be a plus b squared minus ab plus b squared. Okay, and if you had a cubed, this difference of two things being cubed, this would be a minus b, and a2 plus ab plus b squared. Plus sign. All right, so let's talk about this a little bit. Just kind of some key things to make sure and point out. All right, so the idea here is that we'll just do it with the bottom one here. This a cubed minus b cubed. All right, so a couple of things. So notice that the sign on a cubed minus b cubed is negative. All right, so notice that the first factor we have also has a minus sign. So they always match. Okay, they always match. So if you notice in the example above where we're doing a cubed plus b cubed, notice there's a plus sign. So it always matches, whatever it. And then if you notice, if we had a cubed and you took out an a, aren't you left with an a squared? That's why this is a squared now, because you took an a out of a cubed. All right, so you also will notice that whatever sign is in the first factor, the second one, the first sign is always the opposite of it. Okay, it's opposite. So in this case, it's a positive. And if you notice in both examples, both top and bottom, these guys are always positives. And the reason why you have to make sure that you have a sign change on that first term is that things won't drop out. If you were to sit there and distribute all of this, which would take a good 5 minutes to do, you will find that the only terms left over will be a cubed and b cubed if you distributed all of this stuff out, which we're not going to do. But we just have to remember that we have to make the sign the same, and then the opposite of the sign, and then a positive at the end. And I used to remember it as you have to sop it. Same, opposite. And these are just little gimmicks to help you remember. And positive or plus sign. So that's how I used to remember the sign. Same, opposite, plus, and I still use it to this day. So to me, this is very useful. That is if you remember it. All right, so we're going to do a couple of practice problems and see how we do. All right, so here we go. X cubed minus 125. Now, the whole goal of this thing, again, just like I explained in the difference of two perfect squares, is you're looking for two terms or two things, factors that are cubed, in this case cubed, to give us these two things. So what your mind is trying to kind of come up with is, what do I have to put in these parentheses to make this equal to x cubed minus 125? Well, the first term is easy. X cubed, I just need to put an x in here. But what number do I need to put in for this parenthesis so that when I cube it, I get 125? Now, what you could do is you go to your graphing calculator and find this under, I think, the math key. Find that, I think it's number 3 actually, on your TI-83 or TI-84 even. Under the math key again, number 3, it's the cube root. If you type in 125, it will pop out 5, and that's what I'm going to put in here, because cubes and cube roots are inverses of each other. They undo each other. So if I want it I'm not sure if I can figure out what the cube roots and stuff are, I can just use my cube root thing on my calculator and it'll give me the number I need. All right, so this is, in this particular case, this is A and this is B. And again, I just want you to think, instead of A and B as being a variable, think of it as being the two terms that we have to use. All right, but since I have a minus sign, I'm going to use the one that goes a minus b, a squared plus ab plus b squared. All right, so I'm going to follow this exact rule. It tells me exactly, these are the rules, and it tells me exactly what to do. Okay, the first thing says a minus b, so I'm just going to write x, because again, let me change color here. A is x, so x minus, okay, in this case, b is 5. Okay, and now I'm supposed to put a parenthesis in here and put that in all together. All right, it says square a. Well, in this case, a squared is just x squared, because a is x. And then again, I put the plus sign in. Let me throw the plus signs in here too. And now it says AB. Remember that AB means A times B. So if B is 5 and A is X, what is AB? 5X. Pretty simple. All right, and then the last thing it tells me to do is square B. Well, B is 5. Remember, it's not minus 5 because the subtraction signs are already lined up. So this is B is 5. If I square 5, I get 25. So if you want to, instead of thinking of these as formulas, think of those as instructions on how to get your final answer. So let me put this in parentheses so I'm done. So my final answer is x minus 5 times x squared plus 5x plus 25. Now, what I need to let you know too is when you get to this step, this guy here very rarely, I can't even think of a single example, can be factored even more. This cannot be, this second term here cannot be factored anymore. So this is done. You just have to double check to make sure that this first one can be factored, and of course it can't because x and 5 have nothing in common. So this is my final answer right here. All right, let's try a different example. X cubed plus 27. All right, so we're going to use our, first of all, let's figure out what A and B are. I'll make it easier. So let's put these in parentheses. And you're trying to figure out what two things are cubed. So again, pretty easy ones on this one, X, and then again, if you don't know what times what gives you 27, you can use your calculator under the math key, and I think it's number 3 again. Put the cube root of 27 in, and it'll pop out 3. So those are your, so this is A, this is B. All right, so I'm going to follow the rule, this rule this time, because again, they have to match. The signs have to match. So A plus B, A squared, opposite sign, plus sign. Same, opposite, plus. All right, so now we're going to plug in, using this rule, our X and our 3. So let's change this. So X plus 3, sorry, that was the last example, that's a 5. And then I'm going to square A. Well, A again is X. So squaring X, I'm going to get X squared. And then I'm going to put a minus sign. And then it says multiply the two terms. Well, again, 3 times X is 3X. Plus square the last term, or excuse me, square the B. And in this case, B is 3, so squaring it will give us 9. And, whoops, and that is my final answer. All done. All right, let's make them a little bit harder. Okay, 64x cubed minus 1. All right, so again, I'm going to keep changing colors here because I'm struggling with that. But all right, so I'm going to do what cubed minus, and again, same idea, what cubed. All right, 64x cubed. Well, I don't know. I know this is an x here, but 64, So I put in the cube root of 64 into my handy dandy calculator, and it pops out 4. So 4 goes in here. And 1 is its own cube root, so 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, so a 1 goes in there. So, again, A is 4x and B is 1. So now I'm going to use my formula. I'm using, because this has a minus, this one must have a minus. Again, same, opposite, plus. There's my rule. Follow my rule with the problems that I had. All right, so put in my parentheses, put in my signs. Okay, now I'm going to put in my numbers. All right, A in this example is 4x. B in this example is 1. A squared. Well, A is squared. So what is 4x when you square it? That will be 16x squared. Sometimes students miss that. So you're doing 4x times 4x. Okay, 4x times 4x. I mean, don't get fooled on that, because a lot of times the SOLs will give you that first term being wrong. They remember, they're putting in common mistakes that kids make. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is multiply the two A and B together. Well, that's 4x and 1. 4x and 1. And then, actually, let's do it that way. I'm going to use my handy dandy eraser here and kind of build it out a little bit more for you. All right. Okay, and then B squared. Whoops. Then B squared is 1 squared, which is 1. All right, so my final answer, 4x minus 1 times 16x squared plus 4x plus 1, and I'm done. That's my final answer. All right, next one. All right, here I threw in some extra letters to see what you do. All right, so again, this one's fairly easy in terms of finding the cubes. I just wanted to practice with the variables, and that's why I kind of put this one in. All right, so I'm using A minus B. A squared, opposite of a minus is a plus, and then plus. And notice it kind of goes it goes A squared, then 1 of each, kind of 1 and 1, and then B squared. It's almost like they take turns. All right, so now I'm going to plug in, and again, A is X, and B is Y. So, okay, so this will look like X squared. This will be a plus, this will be an XY, and then plus, and then I'm doing Y squared. Done. All right, let's bump it up. Whew, this one looks tough. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is, all right, find the cubes roots of all these things. So let's do what cubed minus what cubed. That's what we're looking for. So we know the letters are easy, fairly easy, so we can do those. All right, so we've practiced with 27, I think, already, and actually I think we used 125 at once too. So the cube root of 27 is 3, and the cube root of 125 is 5. So that's what goes in there. So it's kind of a little complicated. It's a little. So this is my A, and this is my B. All right, so I write my rule down. A minus B. A squared plus, remember, same, opposite, plus. All right, so I'm gonna write this out a little bit so you can kind of see the math as I go here. All right, so let's put my parentheses in. Let's put my signs in, because that part's not going to change. All right, so here we go. So A is 3x, so I'm just going to put a 3x in here. B is 5y, so I put that in there. Now, here I'm going to do A squared, so I'm going to do 3x squared. Okay, and I'm going to clean that up in a minute. Okay, and then I'm going to multiply 3x times 5y. I'm going to do that math in a second. And then I'm going to do 5y squared. Okay, all I had to do is clean this up. So now you can see there's my A, there's my B, there's my B, There's my A. All right, so you can see it. I just have to clean it up. All right, so let's do green. Why not? 3x minus 5y. That doesn't change. 3x squared is 9x squared, because 3 times squared is 9, and x squared is x squared. Plus 3 times 5 is 15. Put the letters together. And then 5y squared is 25y squared. And I am done. And that was a tough one. Okay, that's probably one of the tougher ones. Okay, next one. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look, do I have a cube root of 250? Do I have a cube root of 128? I do not. So something's up. Well, what I did here was I threw in, what's the first thing you should check for whenever you do factoring? Right, GCF. You should always check to see if you have the GCF. So, GCF of these two things. Oof. Well, let's try this. I know they're even, so let's divide them by 2 first. So let's do that. Because I don't have any letters in common, but let's do that. Now, when I do that, I go, ooh, that looks familiar. Ooh, that looks familiar too. So, I'm cool with this. Plus, I don't think I have anything else that these guys have in common. Plus, I recognize this one from practice, and I recognize this one from practicing. All right, so the 2, remember, we're going to put down here, so don't forget about it. But we're going to now we have to factor this guy. So we're doing, again, we're focusing on this. So what cube gives us the first term, and what cube gives us the second term. Again, letters are fairly easy most of the time. All right, so now if we take the cube root of 125, we'll get 5. And if we take the cube root of 64, we will get 4. So that's my A and my B again. Okay, so I'm going to follow my rules. So let me see if I can squeeze this all in here now. Now because this is plus, this one has to be plus. A squared minus AB plus B squared. And after a while, you'll get used to it. You just have to practice. Again, making sure your signs. Sometimes on the SOLs, if you have a multiple choice, look at the signs first. You might be able to knock out choices just because the signs are wrong. Okay, because sometimes they'll do that as well. All right, so A is 5x and B is 4y. So let's do that. Let's see if I can squeeze this all in here. All right, so 5x. Let's put a plus sign. I'll put my signs in here. Okay, and then 4y. And then I'm going to do 5x squared. I'm going to do 5x times 4y. And then I'm going to do 4y squared. All right, so we got our last line here, so we're going to put it in here. Okay, so copy the 5x plus 4y. Notice I took out my GCF. I put out my answer so I don't forget about it. It's always an important thing to do because you don't want to forget about it. Okay, so 5x squared. Remember, we're going to do 5x times 5x, which is 25x squared, minus 5x times 4y is 20xy, plus 4y times itself, or 4y squared, is 16y squared. And you are done. This is my final answer. I think I might have one more. Yes, so this is a super difficult one. So let's see how this plays out. This one is a pretty difficult one. I threw it in there just for fun. All right, so again, if we're going to do the whole cube thing, we have to kind of think about it. This is a toughie. All right, so what cubed minus what cubed? All right, so what cubed will give me x to the 6th? So think about it. How do I get x to the 6th if I have a 3 on the outside and I'm raising an exponent to another exponent? This would have to be a 2. because these two guys, when you raise an exponent to an exponent to another exponent, a power to another power, you multiply them. It's sort of like having, let me write off the side here, x squared times x squared. I think it's not wrong to write. Times x squared. You add your exponents, that's x to the sixth, right? It's 2 plus 2 plus 2. Okay, so x squared to the third power is x squared times x squared times x squared. So that goes in there, and then what cube gives me 64? Well, we've been practicing that, that's 4. Again, use your graphing calculator if you forget. All right, so a squared is my a, and 4 is my b. So I'm going to put a minus b, a squared plus ab plus b squared. Okay, so let me put my parentheses in here, my signs in here. All right, so now I'm going to go back and say, okay, so a in this particular case is x squared. B in this case is 4. I should be changing color. I'll do that now. All right, next thing is I have a squared. So I have x squared squared. I have a, which is x squared, times 4, and then I have 4 squared. All right. Put down my answer. Okay, I have x squared minus 4, and then I have x squared squared. So that's x to the 4th, because it's 2 times 2, plus, rearrange that because I can't do anything with that, plus 16. All right, remember I told you that this term 9 times out of 10 cannot be factored, but what about this guy over here on the left? That can actually be factored even more based on our previous lesson. This is the difference of two perfect squares, so this will factor to x plus 2 and x minus 2. And go back to the previous lesson if you need that to look at that. And then I write this in. So this is my final factored form of this. This is really ugly. Polynomial. And that's it. That's one of the hardest ones we could do.